Hey, here I am and welcome back. My name's Nathan. I'm an urban sketcher, I'm a travel sketcher, I'm an all-round creative guy. I'm back from my travels. If you've been watching my videos, you will know that I went to Panama and Colombia, and this week, is that right? Is that the right way around? Yes, it is, that way. This week's video is going to be half sketchbook tour, half travel vlog. It's going to be a bit of everything. I'm going to take you through my sketchbook, and I'm also going to throw in some videos and some pictures and some stories from my traveling. I'm really excited to show you this because I'm absolutely in love with it. This might be a long one, so buckle up, get yourself a cup of coffee. Let's go. So here we have my sketchbook. This is a Hannah Muller accordion sketchbook. Is this A5? I think this is A5 size or just a little bit bigger. And I decided to cover it using my airline tickets. So here we have Iberia, Copa, LATAM, and JetSmart. And then I decided to paint the flags of the countries on top. So this is the Panamanian flag and this is the Colombian flag. The paper of the airline tickets doesn't really like being painted on, so it's given this strange kind of pattern on both sides. It looks a little bit kind of like it's done with a felt tip crayon or something, but I don't really mind. I quite like it. It's all part of the adventure. That's what I kept telling myself all the way through this. So this is an accordion sketchbook, which means I can do this. Whee! So that's how we're going to look at it. I'm going to add little snippets of photos and videos throughout to back up what I am talking about. Before I set off, I decided to paint on this front page here. I wasn't sure how the paper was going to take the watercolor with it having glue on the back of it, but it did very well. So here are all, well, not all, but most of the materials that I took with me. This is the Bruno Flake, my homemade travel palette, split primary palette, cold and a warm of yellow, red, blue and green. I talked about that in my What I Take Travel Sketching With Me, which you can check out here. So yeah, that's just a good way of getting yourself into sketching in a new book. So day one, I decided to take the bus from Barcelona to Madrid. 8 hours. It was absolutely terrible. Do not recommend it. Traveling on a bus, the seats aren't very comfortable. The man I was sat next to snored the whole time and he was like spilling onto my seat. It was a very uncomfortable journey, especially after that 8-hour journey on the bus. I had a 6-hour wait in Madrid terminal. 7:36 in the morning, just about Madrid airport. Before a 10-hour flight. It became a 24-hour journey. It was absolutely terrible, not fun at all. Anyway, the bus was called Javier. So I decided to sketch the bus and the airport terminal. This was Terminal 4 in Madrid Airport. It's got this kind of wavy roof. It's really quite cool. So I decided to sketch those while I had this massive amount of time to wait. And I separated everything off at this point using washi tape. I took 3 rolls of this washi tape with me, and the other 2 I used up, and this is what I have left. I marked everything out so that I wouldn't draw too big and take up too much room, which I think is a good thing to do. Kept me keeping things small and gave me an area to work within. Then during the flight, I'd taken this photo before I got on, so I'd sketched this from the photo during the flight. And I tried to do it only using Macron fine liners because I have them in 6 different colors. And I thought, oh, that's going to look really cool and really sketchy and really different. But I absolutely hated the result. So then I painted on top with watercolor and I still didn't really like it. So I took my white uniball and added different bits to it until it became something that I didn't hate. I don't love it, but I didn't hate it. So I decided to stop there before I ruined it again. As a whole, with the rest of the sketchbook, it doesn't look like it stands out as anything too bad anyway. So I arrived in Panama. This was the view from my accommodation. You can see the city skyline. I stayed in an area called Casco Antiguo, which is like the old colonial part of the city. And then I could look across at the new part of the city with all the modern buildings. That's the Trump Tower, which is the 2nd tallest tower in Latin America. Doesn't look like it in this sketch because it was further away. And it took all of my strength to not add colour to this and leave it just as a line sketch. And I'm glad I did, because it forced me to find different ways to create depth. And, well, there's not much depth in it, to be fair. It looks very 2D. But adding the clouds in the sky by adding just some simple lines, I really quite liked that. This is the stamp that I got in my passport. This is my recreation of it, which I think looks almost real. Looks very authentic. To get this proper circle and stamp-like thing, I took one of my rings off my key ring, and I rubbed the back of my pen onto it and then stamped it on there to get this perfect circle. But it also left some gaps, which I think looked really stampy. Really happy with that. And then the next day I got up really early to go on a trip to the San Blas Islands. So this here, this is the Pacific side of Panama, and this is the Atlantic side. So I saw two oceans in one day. Woke up, had my breakfast here, had my lunch there. Really cool. Our driver, Aristides, he drove us over the top of the mountains, through the jungle, where we had these signs everywhere. I'd never seen these signs before, and then it turns out they are all over Latin America, so not that unique to Panama, but there were a lot of these while going over the mountains, where he told us that a lot of people often become car sick, but nobody on my tour did. So the first island we went to was Isla Perro, and I sat under a palm tree and sketched this. It was like a beached boat, but I really liked that the colour of the boat matched the colour of the roof of this hut. And I also liked the way this palm tree came out. There was a log there. It was just paradise. It was perfect. This water was the clearest I've ever seen, and it was warm. It was just so nice. And for lunch on this island, I had fried fish with coconut rice, and it was delicious. It's always good when the fish is really fresh, right? Then the next island we went to was Isla Diablo, which means Devil Island. This is Dog Island and Devil Island. And while we were here, I had a pina colada, and I sketched this little hut with this little jetty, which is where these boats called lanchas, where these lanchas came and docked. I did a couple of little people in there as well. Are you seeing my little people theme? And the storm clouds were coming in. So I really like how I captured this kind of moody sky, and I like the intensity of the colours in this. Really pleased with that one. Again, these were marked out using my washi tape. That day started, yes, I was picked up at 5 a.m. and we got back home about 7 p.m. So it was quite a long day, and I booked that through a company called Panama Tours. The next day, I was with my friend Valentin in Panama. He's Panameño, and he took me to the rainforest in the city, which is called the Parque Natural Metropolitano. It's not in the center of the city, it's like towards the outside of the city, but anybody can go, and it's really quite cheap to enter, and you can stay in there as long as you like, walking around, and all of the animals that you will see in there are completely wild. We didn't see any sloths, unfortunately. We were dying to see a sloth, but they're quite difficult to find. But I was so impressed by the colour of a toucan's beak. I always thought they were just orange, and I'd never seen anything like it, so I had to sketch this when I got back. Actually, I sketched this on the plane the next day. Same with the hummingbird. And I've been told that when the settlers first went to Latin America and they saw the hummingbirds, they thought they were fairies. And it's quite easy to see how they believed that, because they just flit from flower to flower so quickly that you can't really see how they move. I just love them. They are my favourite bird. I also saw raccoons for the first time, and they have the cutest little hands. So I just had to sketch one of those, and I decided to do that just in ink using my purple Micron fine liner. The frangipani flower grows everywhere, and it is the most delicious smelling flower that I've ever smelled. And that's one of the best things I've ever done, walking around that rainforest. I could have stayed there forever. Then the next day, I went on a bike ride around the Cinta Costera. So this is my little bike. It was a red bike. And I'd seen a video a few weeks ago of Kusha Kerner sketching a bike, but sketching the negative space. And I thought, oh, that's quite interesting. So I gave that a go, and I like how this turned out. It looks very cartoonish in a way. and I just painted the whole thing red, even the wheels and the seat. I had a little bit of variation in the color, but I just kept it all red because that was the color of the bike. And then that afternoon, I had to take a flight from Panama to Medellin, and I flew with Copper Airlines. That's the Panamanian airline. I flew with Iberia from Barcelona to Panama. So here I drew the view from the window. I had a window seat. So this is the livery of Copper. And here are some mountains in Colombia, the clouds. Really like these clouds. Then I landed in Medellin, and this is the hotel that I was staying at. I took this glue stick with me so that I could stick things in throughout. Some people like to put their little memories in an envelope at the back of the book, but I wanted it to become part of it, so I just kind of integrated it as I went along. I didn't do much that night. I just went out for a walk, got something to eat, had a beer, and I went back to my accommodation because the next morning was the 6th of October. My birthday! Yay! So I got up early. I've actually done these 2 pages back to front, so I'll come to this in a moment. I got up early and I went on a walking tour around Comuna 13 to see the graffiti. This is quite a famous piece of graffiti. I wanted to sketch it myself, and I thought, oh, this is quite a big challenge to try and sketch something that somebody else has already done. Obviously, it's done with spray paints on this wall, and it's massive. It's just called Monkey, this piece. So I started and I didn't know if I was going to pull it off. I used my washi tape, first of all, to mark out the outside, but also because it has this kind of natural color and then the kind of negative. I taped it off like this on either side, painted the middle part, let that dry, and then I covered the middle part and did the outside. And I think that's worked really well. Really enjoyed that. Then, in the afternoon, I took a bus from Medellin to Guatapé, which is a little smaller town, about 2 hours by bus. And here they have this big, big rock called La Piedra. And you can climb up this rock. These are the steps going up the side. And up at the top there is a little bar. And you can walk all the way up there. It was 30,000 pesos, which is 30,000 pesos was €6.75, so maybe about £6. It was 675 steps to the top, but that's to like this part here. But to walk to the very top there was about another 20 steps, so you can add 20 onto there. When I came down, my legs were like jelly, so I sat in this restaurant, and this is the view from the restaurant. These, I'm not really sure what that is, but you'll see that in the picture. It's like loads of little balls. I don't know. It was very strange. While I was waiting for the bus, here's my bus ticket back to Medellin. I sketched this little tuk-tuk. There was loads of tuk-tuks around because to get to this part, you had to walk up some steps, and then there was all these steps as well. So some people took a tuk-tuk, took a tuk-tuk. Some people took a tuk-tuk to like the base camp, let's say. And I used my Macron fine liners, and I used every color that I had, and I just drew shapes until it turned into a tuk-tuk. So quite pleased with that as well. Something different that I don't normally do. Then I took the bus back to Medellin. And the next day I had to take a flight from Medellin to Pereira. And this time I flew with LATAM. So here is the livery of LATAM. And when I arrived, there was a massive, massive thunderstorm. And the lightning bolts were so close to where I was staying. And the thunder was the loudest I've ever heard. So here I managed to take a video of the lightning from my balcony. So I decided to sketch that. Again, moody sky. This is the hotel I stayed in Pereira. I took a cable car ride that night after the storm, but I wanted to try and catch the sunset, but I just missed it. So it was actually quite dark. So I only saw the city by night because I was a bit late getting on there because of the storm. Then the next morning I got up really early. I got up at 5:30 to catch the first bus from Pereira to Salento, which was about an hour. And Salento is like this really quaint town. It's very backpackery. There's lots of hostels and things there, but it's so colourful. And I've been told that that was the inspiration for the Disney film Encanto. Here is a sketch of that, but I'm going to get back to that in a minute because, again, this page is a bit back to front. So I took the bus from Pereira to Salento, and then I took a jeep called a Wii, which is spelled Willy, to Valle Cocora. And to get to Valle Cocora, I was on this wheel, standing in the queue. The queue was really quite long. And the driver of the Jeep was saying, I need one person, uno, solo uno, uno. And everybody else was in couples or in families. So I said, I'm on my own, come with me. So I got to skip the whole queue, and I'd only just joined the queue. So that was great. There was a family on there and there was room for one more. And I had to hold on to the back of the Jeep and stand up. I've got a video here. And it was so much fun. I would have actually been a bit annoyed if I'd been sat down and watching other people standing up, because I'd have been a bit jealous. I would have wanted to do it, but I did. I got the experience. That was great. And this hike around Valle Cocora was supposed to be about 4 hours. So you would pay your 8,000, and then after maybe 2 hours, you pay another 25,000 to continue the way around. So you had this loop, but you could do the loop and you could do a 20-minute detour to a hummingbird sanctuary. Obviously, they're my favorite birds, so I was going to do that, where you had to pay another 25,000 pesos. But there they gave you a hot chocolate. It was a gorgeous hot chocolate with cheese. And you put your cheese in the hot chocolate and it kind of melts, but doesn't go liquidy. It just kind of goes really soft. It was absolutely divine. I'm going to try and recreate that if I can. I could have stayed there forever as well, because there was just so many hummingbirds. Valle Cocora is very famous for having these palmeras de cera, wax palms. These are the tallest palm trees in the world, and they are the national tree of Colombia. This was a little kind of leaflet they gave me before I started the hike. It's basically, how can we protect life in Valle Cocora? It says, don't throw any rubbish in the river, don't hug or touch the palm trees, and if you see these condors, don't approach them either. So that tour, actually, because of my detour to the hummingbird sanctuary, took me about 6 hours, and I was absolutely shattered by the time I finished. I thought it was never going to end. Which is a curious thing about being on holiday or traveling, isn't it? You think it's just going to last forever, and then suddenly it's just a memory. But I'm so glad I did this, because I have so much more memories ingrained in all of these sketches than if I had just taken a photo. So here, this is my entrance to the hike. And then I had some dinner probably. I had some dinner after this, and this was the building that was in front of where I had my dinner. I was looking at booking a tour to this Valle Cocora, but it was going to cost me 135 euros. So I decided not to do that. I thought I can definitely do this cheaper by myself. And that included the transport from the hotel, the entrance to the valley, and dinner, I think. 135 euros. Keep that number in mind. I did it by myself instead, so let me just do some maths of how much it cost me. Okay, so it cost me, myself, it cost me 33 euros 38, and that included dinner. So that was a bus, a wee, the entrance to the valley, the entrance to the hummingbird sanctuary, and a huge dinner. And it cost me 33 euros. So you don't need to take a tour. You can definitely do that by yourself. And that would be even cheaper if you were staying in Salento. Just FYI. So that's taken me up to day 7. Halfway through.